This video is sponsored by Geek Fuel. Stay till the end to learn more and use the link in the description to sign up. Greetings everyone, my name is Sai. So, Skyrim. Technically the 5th Elder Scrolls game, but is more likely than not only the second one you actually played alongside Oblivion, and then maybe Morrowind as well if you're over like 50 or whatever. But even if you play the game for hundreds of hours, I'd be willing to bet there are a few things you don't know about it. So, let's play a game. If you guys learn one thing while watching this video, I want you to give it a like. But if you already knew all 10 facts before watching, I want you to give it a dislike, guilt-free. Because if you knew everything, that means I didn't do my job properly. And of course, this video will be spoiling the entire game, and so you have been warned. And so without any further ado, here are 10 more things you didn't know about Skyrim. So, here's the scenario. You've just beaten your first dragon in the game, and while still coming down off the adrenaline high from that, you return to the Jarl, and he starts telling you how you've been summoned by the Greybeards, and how you're the chosen one. And then there's something about sending some guards to Riverwood mixed in there, but you're not paying attention to that. Well, I wasn't at least, but if you happened to be, you might have noticed the Jarl commands Earlith to go and dispatch some guards to Riverwood to help it fight against future dragon attacks. And amazingly enough, you can actually follow her down through Whiterun, see her talk to the guards about their new post, and then follow them all the way to Riverwood, where they then become regular guards for that town. Now, if that isn't attention to detail, I have no idea what is. So, remember the carriage guy who offers you rides to all the different capital holds? You remember, that one guy you used once for each city, and then never again because fast traveling exists. Yeah, that guy. Well, if you cast your mind back to a time when he was actually useful, you might remember that for some odd reason, all the places you can go have different prices. Now, I always assume the prices vary depending on how far away he'd have to take you, but that's not actually true. As it turns out, the prices for the carriage rides are actually determined by if the city you want to go to has a stable for his horse to stay in. Because if there's nowhere for his horse to sleep, then he'll have to go straight there and straight back to a different city with a stable. Which is why it costs a bit more than double the price to go to a city without one. So, if you go east of Markarth, you'll eventually happen upon a forsworn camp called the Bard's Leap Summit. But did you ever wonder why it has that name? Well, probably not, but regardless, I have the answer. If you go to the top, you can see the walkway as a plank of wood strapped on at the end overlooking the waterfall. And as soon as you see that, you know you just have to do it, right? And if you make the jump and land in the water below, upon climbing out, you'll see a ghost suddenly appear. This is the titular Bard part of the Bard's Leap Summit, and he tells you that he leapt off years ago, much like you did, but unfortunately wasn't quite as lucky. And then, as a nice little bonus for discovering his secret, he'll play you a song on his ghost lute, and give you a permanent +2 increase in speech. So, did you know that when a citizen of Dawnstar dies, a single red mountain flower gets placed on the stairs of the White Hall? Actually, it doesn't, and that's a lie. That's what I had picked out to talk about right now, but as it turns out, that's not true at all. That was, in fact, a rumor that was going around the internet for a while, mainly thanks to this picture right here that has no source or evidence on it at all. And sure enough, upon going on a genocidal rampage in Dawnstar, no flowers. Now, my first thought was, oh shit, did I accidentally kill the person who was putting flowers here? But nope. A quick Google search to try and figure out what the deal was led me to this Skyrim Mythbusters video, where he arrives at the same conclusion that I did, and actually has an interesting theory as to where this rumor might have originated. He says, quote, "There was a game released on the Xbox 360 called Jade Empire, and in that game, there's a character named Dawnstar, who eventually goes into a garden and plants a flower for every lost friend. So, in all likelihood, this rumor was started by a giant troll who wanted to screw with people. Like, oh, for sake of example, a YouTuber who plans out all the trivia they want to include before fact-checking it. But hey, if you didn't know that, I think it makes for an interesting story nevertheless, and if you previously believed that, well, now you know better. So here is a fantastic bit of attention to detail. Did you know that while wild mammoths have normal tusks, like what you'd expect, mammoths that have bonded with giants have carvings on their tusks? And I have to say, I'm impressed. Not with Bethesda per se, although this bit of detail is certainly praiseworthy, but rather with the giants. I mean, can you imagine holding down a mammoth for long enough to carve symbols directly onto its tusks? And on top of that, they're probably using like a sharp stick or something. Hell, have you ever tried clipping a dog's nails? It'd be like that, but 10 billion times more difficult, and on a dog the size of a semi-truck. So good job, Giants, I'm impressed. So, being self-evidently a connoisseur of gaming trivia videos, you are probably already aware of the Headless Horseman Easter egg, yes? If no, then on occasion, you can find an NPC called the Headless Horseman riding around the roads of Skyrim. He doesn't really do anything or have any quests that relate to him, but if you follow him for long enough, he'll eventually lead you to an area with a bunch of skeletons and a treasure chest. But while you're likely to already know that, what you're less likely to know is that it's speculated that the Headless Horseman could actually be the ghost of Ragnar the Red. Well, how does that work, you might be asking? Well, listen to the bard song that talks about him.
Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiterun from old Rorikstead. And the braggart named Ragnar was boastful no more when his ugly red head rolled around on the floor.
Hey kids, you know what's tons of fun? College lectures, of course! Okay, maybe not in real life, but this is Skyrim, land of fantasy, adventure, and high sorcery, where even something as boring as learning can be fun. And that's why I feel the need to inform you that every single day at the College of Winterhold between 1 and 3 p.m., a few different NPCs will hold the single loneliest seminars I've ever seen in the main building. But seriously, most of these are pretty interesting and or funny, so give it a shot the next time you're around. So, you ever look up while traveling in between quests and notice a bird flying high up in the air? Well, if you're like me, your first instinct is to channel your inner Katniss, or Robin Hood if you're old, and try to shoot it down. But as it turns out, a really small target flying a couple hundred feet in the air at high speeds is slightly more difficult to hit than a giant a couple feet from you. So it was during reenacting a Wile E. Coyote cartoon with this bird that I eventually noticed it landed in a nest. That's right, did you ever notice not only do nests exist in this game in the first place, but that the birds actually land in them? I mean, yes, simple things please simple minds, but in most games, birds are random 2D sprites, or blocks of wood cut vaguely in a bird shape. So seeing that they're not only physical entities in the game, but are actually programmed to do things like land in nests is insane to me. So when I first played Skyrim all those years ago, once I'd gotten to a sufficient point in the main quest and had a few shouts, I finally allowed myself off the beaten path and took up some side questing. And after how much I adored the Dark Brotherhood and Oblivion, I knew they had to be my first stop. Problem was, I had no idea where to find them. So like any smart millennial, I consulted the Oracle for answers, and the wiki very helpfully told me to go talk to the kid to get the whole thing started. But because of my use of the wiki to move things along, I completely missed this really cool Dark Brother related side quest. So, did you know that prior to appearing in Sanctuary, you can actually find Cicero in the overworld? He's up north of Whiterun at Doloritas Farm, trying to transport the Night Mother, but his cart's broken down and the farmer's too scared to help him. And you have a few options here. You can either A, tell the guards a lie and get him arrested, or B, convince the farmer to help him. If you help him out, he'll be very appreciative, and upon joining the Dark Brotherhood, will give you some gold as a thank you. And if you get him arrested, he'll have escaped by the time you join and be pissed at you for lying about him, although it doesn't actually affect anything later on in the quest line. But if you head back to the farm afterwards, you'll see the entire family's been murdered by an unknown assailant. You know the saying, end with a bang? Well, as a Texan, I'm a fan of that bit of advice, and that's how I like to make videos. So for this last trivia bit, know that I'm not choosing it because I think it's the most obscure fact in the list, but rather I think it's the coolest fact in the list. So, did you know there are 3 secret bosses hidden around Skyrim? The first, and in my opinion the best, is Vurthuriol, a giant dragon that hangs around Blackreach. Somehow. Anyone else have any ideas how a freaking dragon got in here? It's a giant underground cave, for God's sakes. I mean, maybe it hatched here, but God, wouldn't that be a sad life? Giant dragon, trapped eternally underground, unable to fly more than 10 feet in the air, or eat anything besides Falmer and mushrooms. But anyways, the key to summoning him is to Fus Roda, that giant glowing sun in the center of the cave. Then after that we have Karstag in the Dragonborn DLC, who is actually a cameo from Morrowind. In order to fight him, you have to pull his skull out of the ice in the glacial cave, head up a bit north of the Castle Karstag ruins, and place his skull alongside the rest of his bones, which will cause his ghost to be summoned. He is level 90 and therefore no joke, but after killing him, you get the Summon Karstag spell, which will make you even more OP than you already were by that point. And finally, we have the Reaper in the Dawnguard DLC, by far the worst on the list. In order to fight him, you have to find 3 Reaper fragments in the Soul Cairn, and bring them back to the Reaper's lair. And after a decently cool boss fight, he drops a grand total of 3 Black Soul Gems, a Daedra Heart, and an Iron Battle Axe. No, not a custom weapon, mind you, to make all the time spent getting to him in the slightest bit worth it. No, not even an enchanted Iron Battle Axe, just a normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill Iron Battle Axe. That's your lot, the end, go fuck yourself. Still, as shitty as the Reaper ended up being, I do appreciate Bethesda's willingness to hide away bosses that not everyone's going to find, just to make players that are able to find them feel that much greater a sense of achievement. Hey everyone, remember to leave a like if you learned something new, and of course dislike if you already knew everything before watching, because if you did that means I didn't do my job properly. Also, I'd appreciate if you guys stuck around for a quick second to hear about my sponsor, Geek Fuel. So, what is Geek Fuel? Well, Geek Fuel is a monthly box service that gives you things you can actually use, like coffee mugs, magazines, hats, t-shirts, and Steam games. For example, check out all the awesome stuff I got in the most recent box they sent me. First of all, I got the freaking Deadpool movie on Blu-ray and DVD, which is probably worth the asking price of the box right then and there, but no, there's still more. I got a Steam game, The Weaponographist. I got an awesome little Deadpool statue that sits on your figure that sits on top of your monitor. I got this awesome little treasure chest box, and inside is Nathan Drake's ring from Uncharted. I got this Geek Fuel mug. I got a drawing of dead guy shooting a dude, and to top it all off, I also got this awesome Game of Thrones t-shirt. It really is just a fantastic box. And add on top of that, if you use my special link, geekfuel.com/sci, you get an extra $30 bonus box at your first order, totally on me. Really, there's no reason you shouldn't go get it. So go check it out. That's geekfuel.com/sci. And guys, that is about it. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys next time. Later. Special thanks to my lovely Patreon patrons, Matt Flowers, Isaiah Christo, and Merrick Freeshow for helping support my endeavors.